Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Islam Works. And it really does work if you just give it a chance. Not only does it work, it does miracles. MashaAllah, tabarakallah. Islam Works is a program that's provided by Huda, and it not only talks about people becoming Muslim, because we've seen many programs about talking about people becoming Muslim, but what about after Islam, after you accepted Islam? How does it work for you? Stay tuned. We have your host today, Brother Abdullah Muslim on the other chair, and he's going to talk about how Islam worked for him. Alhamdulillah. So, without further ado, Brother Abdullah Muslim, tell me, how did Islam work for you?
Well, when I became a Muslim, I did it primarily to be in the company of good people.
Yeah, definitely.
And subhanAllah, praise is due to Allah. Allah has blessed me to be in the company of good people. And one of the things that occurred, in fact, a number of the things, America is a very complex society. There are a lot of contradictions. And one of the things that I grew up, just like you and many other people in America, was believing in Santa Claus. I just imagine, from the time that you can remember, your earliest memories, you're remembering, you're thinking about a stranger coming into your house on the 25th of December and leaving you a bunch of toys and clothes or whatever else the case may be, if you've been good for the year. Now, even as a child, you know if you've been good or not. And you get up in the morning and all that stuff is right there under that big Christmas tree. And when you finally get around to asking your parents, well, why did Santa Claus come and put stuff for us under the Christmas tree? And they tell you it's because that's the day that God was born.
Allah.
That's the day that God was born. And we're celebrating the birth of God, commonly referred to as Jesus. Now, you're growing up with this from childhood.
Yeah. Living on a lie.
And you have different aspects of Christianity, which I participated as a Catholic briefly, but my main participation in Christianity was as a Baptist. And the Catholics believe that Jesus was born through what they call the Immaculate Conception, that was born without the help of a man. And the Baptists, or some of them, believe that Joseph was his father, but they don't know who Joseph was or where he came from. And you grow up with this, and you start to wonder, because as you grow and your mind develops, you start trying to conceptualize the birth of God. Because we're told that God can do everything, which he can. We're told that God made creation. He made the earth. It took him 7 days to do it, or 6 days to do it, and he rested on the seventh day.
Yes. I was blaming that.
And we're told all these different things about God, the almighty creator. And then what happens? You reach a point where you find out that Santa Claus was a lie. There was no Santa Claus. And then you find out that it was really your mother and father putting things under that Christmas tree for you. Usually it's around the age of 9, 10, 11, 12 years old. And you start wondering, well, if they lied to me about Santa Claus, did they lie to me about God?
Mm.
And why did they find it necessary to lie? Was Santa Claus God? Was he God's father? You know, there's all these confusions come into your mind, all of this stuff. And then, you know, you're fed more information as you grow. Part of that information comes from television, movie theaters,
The screens.
and now
Mm-mm-mm.
the internet.
Yeah, the screen.
My
The screens
generation,
changed
we
our
grew
lives.
up with the images of John Dillinger, Babyface Nelson,
Mm.
Al Capone,
Idolizing the heroes.
Yeah,
Oh, they're
okay.
criminals. Yeah,
Jesse
idolizing the
James,
criminals. Yeah.
okay, and whoever else, Bugsy Siegel.
Mm.
And there's no movies, or, you know, or very few, about any of the people who really did something. I don't remember ever seeing a movie about Henry Ford. I mean, they did make a movie with Don Amici about, Don Amici, who's he? You know, that was way back in the 30s when they made that movie.
Mm.
About Alexander Graham Bell. At least I think it was Don Amici.
Mm.
They don't project the good things about life. They project these negative characters, people who are murderers, people who are, you know, they dress a certain way, they do a certain thing.
It's like the news.
Yeah,
The news only tells
Yeah.
us bad things. Then
Exactly.
I don't hear any news coming out. Oh, today there was good news. I
yeah.
mean,
There is no good news that I know of.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's all
You're going-
bad.
yeah.
It's all bad news.
Yeah, bad news.
Mm.
And, you know, we grow up with science fiction, as they call it. You know, you're watching these movies about these weird, strange creatures that get inside you and you from the inside out, and all kinds. And you grow up with all of this negativity all the time. And then they want to know why people do strange things.
Yeah.
Okay, why did he rob that bank? Why did he kill this person? And then they grow up with movies with that's showing all kinds of sexuality and all of these different things.
The morals are just going, you know, where
Exactly.
good is now, where bad is good and good is bad, almost, you know? Yeah.
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 And then you have people like, I think the woman's name was Madeleine O'Hare. She took the government to court because they had religious symbols in government buildings. And the Supreme Court found in her favor, so they had to remove all the religious symbols from the government buildings. And then they had to stop the Pledge of Allegiance, you know, what you say, one nation under God, indivisible. Now it says one nation indivisible. They took God out of the Pledge of Allegiance.
Yeah, even when you sneeze, instead of saying God bless you, just bless you. Yeah.
Okay. So all of these things are growing into society. And then they want to know what's going on. Well, when I came into Islam, these things were very much alive, okay? And now you see that they protect what they call your rights to own a gun more so than they protect your rights to believe in God, okay? In fact, I think it was in Oklahoma, they built this statue of what they say is Satan.
Of Satan, Lucifer, yes.
And I think the name they use is Baphomet. I always tell my children it's pig vomit.
Allah,
You know, but they and with children around it, you know, and now they want to start teaching Satanism in school, and these things are growing and developing, and they're keeping our society. Well, imagine growing up with this, and then you come into the only way I can describe it: an island of tranquility in a sea of confusion, that being Islam. And when I became a Muslim, the first thing I became aware of was how nice everybody was. Not nice individual here, individual there, but nice collectively, collective nice.
Yes. And polite.
And polite. And I, as a you know, my job was aircraft maintenance. That's how I supported my family. So I had the ability to travel around the world, and I did. I traveled to many countries. And in traveling to these countries and observing the behavior of Muslims after I became a Muslim, I found out one thing: there was consistency. Now, of course, this all serves as reinforcement. This all serves as reinforcement. And the reinforcement, I also noticed, is something that people who were not Muslims were constantly trying to break. And these are people who, in their societies, and I'm not just talking about America now, but worldwide, the sexual assault on women has reached, the only thing you say is epidemic.
Yeah.
Murder, epidemic. People committing horrible crimes under the influence of alcohol, epidemic. But you go into practicing Muslim societies, because these things are slowly but surely making inroads. And you see the society changing. You see the innocence going out of children's eyes. You see the children changing. You see the overall, there was a movie with James Stewart called It's a Wonderful Life.
I remember that.
And it was about how the world would have been, or at least this particular town, if this particular man had never been born. It's a Christmas movie,
Yes.
but it's a recommended movie. It's an old movie
It's
made
a
back
black
in the
and white
30s.
movie. Yeah, it's a nice movie.
Okay.
I enjoyed it.
But it was a good movie.
But then again, see how we refer back to the screen.
Yeah,
You know, this is really, that screen is really a part of, it's such a total part of our lives, you know. And it reminds me of Orson, is it Orson Welles,
on the radio.
1985, oh, no, not the, no.
Lord of the
He wrote the
Invasion,
book 1985 when he talked about the screen, the television being in the house and had to
Okay.
be on,
Yeah.
you know, and Big Brother is watching you.
Okay.
So, but
1984.
1984, yeah.
Yeah.
But
That wasn't
1985.
George Orwell. Was it George
I
Orwell?
thought it was. Anyway, it's not important. But,
Right.
but I'm saying, just going back, we always refer back to the screen.
Yeah.
I remember this, back to the screen. Oh, he did that in the screen. I said like, oh, I said like this in the movie. I said like this in the movie. Yeah.
Well, there's one part, the scene I was going to describe, was that had he not been born, see, the town was just a quiet little town where
Yes.
everybody got along, they cooperated. Had he not been born, it would have been a red light district, bars and gambling houses and so forth and so on ad infinitum. That was the scene I was going to describe. And these are things that a lot of people don't understand the necessity of avoiding these things. And in Islam, you see, we have admonition from Allah in our book, the Quran, where he warns us. He tells us, don't do this. Don't gamble.
Yeah.
Don't drink alcohol. Don't commit zina, fornication, adultery. Don't lie. Don't kill each other. Don't cheat. Don't even in the weight, putting the value on the scales, these different things.
And don't use profanity. But all these don'ts that you see, that you mentioned, are just commonplace now on this screen.
Yeah. And sometimes made to look virtuous.
Yes. What I call romancing sin.
Yeah.
You
So
know.
how has it changed me? Someone who was not born a Muslim, some of these things I involved myself in. I gambled. When I was in the military, I gambled a lot. Lying. Oh, they have a white lie, then they have a lie. You know. And, the white lie would be, you're supposed to be someplace at 5:30. It's 5:29. They call you up. Are you coming? You say, yeah, I'm on the way. You're still in the house. Okay. But, yeah, I'm on the way. I'll be there shortly. Couple of minutes.
Yeah.
Okay. White lie. Okay. And, it could go on and on and on and on.
Yes, yes.
But there's other things that we're fed that as Muslims we avoid. So we avoid the necessity. You don't find a lot of what they call psychoanalysis in Muslim societies. And one of the reasons is because we do have what's given to us by Allah. It's called the nafs. Nafs al-lawama, nafs al-mutma'ina, nafs al-amura. All right, and each one is a description in the Quran from Allah of a different aspect of the human psyche. So all Muslims, if we read the Quran like we're supposed to, are able to psychoanalyze ourselves. Okay? But you have the people who are outside our society who look at us and say, oh, they're up to something. our women dress like nuns, but they live normal lives.
Yes.
We, the men in the society, are given the responsibility of priests, okay? And is that we maintain the moral dignity of the society and give advice about the moral dignity of the society, okay? But yet we live normal lives. We get married, we have children. We have been given responsibility, the areas that we have responsibility in, and I'll go back in time to the time of what they call the Crusades,
Oh, yes.
briefly. Muslims had control of Jerusalem, which is a holy site for Christians, Jews, and Muslims. This is a very highly revered place, okay?
One of the 3 mosques that you can go and visit, yes.
And when Muslims had control, we didn't take it by violence, okay? Actually, Omar ibn al-Khattab, radiallahu anhu, the second caliph of Islam, went there on a camel, one camel, him and his servant, and he got the keys. They were turned over to him in a nonviolent way. And what he did was he refused to allow the Muslims to pray in the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, which is the place where the Christians, it's a place where they say Jesus was either born or he was buried. I can't remember which it is now.
Buried. I'm not sure either. Yes.
And he wouldn't, the Christians told him, you can pray here. And we're allowed to pray in the church. He said, no. He says, if I do that, they'll turn it into a masjid or a mosque. So he went and he prayed in another area, okay, away from the church. So the Muslims would, to this day, the treaty that he made with those people is still available. And that treaty has been adhered to. When the Christians from Europe came in there, they slaughtered everybody. Mass slaughter. They brag about it. You read the writings of what they did. Like they had done something. They did. They slaughtered a bunch of innocent people. They slaughtered Muslims, Jews, and Christians.
Yes, they did.
Okay? And then they took it and turned it into a place of commerce. And the reason I'm saying that is because Muslims took the city again under Salahuddin Ayyubi. When Salahuddin Ayyubi, his name, I'm sorry, he wasn't Sahaba.
No, he wasn't.
But when he took it, okay, he didn't take it violently. He fought outside the city, but when he went into the city, he maintained it in a peaceful state. He didn't slaughter everybody in the city. So I ask you, like, who's the barbarian? Who's the one, these are history points that we're given that are never properly looked at in a viable way, in a correct way. And what's happened is certain people have been made to see themselves as something better than other people because of their skin color. White people, they've gotten off into a white supremacist thing. Well, what else could you expect if you go to the Vatican and you see the picture of God creating man? What color is God? Oh, he's white. You see the pictures of Jesus. What color is he? Oh, he's white. Listen, once you become a Muslim and you begin to ikra, as our prophet was told to do, and you read the books, you read the things we're supposed to read, not just the Quran, not just the Hadith, but history books.
Yes.
And you begin to see and to compare. Okay, it expands your understanding of the world around you.
Yes, it does.
It expands it, and it causes you to want to interact in it in a way that it actually becomes a better place.
Yes, indeed.
So what Islam has done for me has put me in a state of mind that causes me to look at the world in a way that I understand the problems we have as coming from a being commonly referred to as Satan. We refer to him as Iblis.
And he was the first one who came out with this tone of racism. Where he said that I'm better than him. I'm better than Adam.
Yeah.
So actually, our director back there is He's jumping up and down right now. He's saying that we're past time. So
Is he saying that the clock on the wall says that's
he
all?
says that the clock on the wall says
Oh.
that's all. And
That sounds familiar.
we have to pick this up next time where you left off, inshallah.
Okay.
So I want to thank you very much for staying tuned. And remember, Islam works.